long story short, I wanted to refine and overhaul the field dimensions for addon. As you can see here, some fields are looking a bit different than the others, and that's because I've used Modelizer script to create the field dimensions for that. They look a lot crisper, cleaner compared to those which was made with bitmap 2 field dimensions. While that wasn't a bad idea at the time, I feel like I need an overhaul to make sure that contracts especially works as they should. So it takes a lot of time to go over each field manually. Luckily, I still have the bitmap data for each field, so I made a mask from that. Here's all the fields as a black and white mask, which I then can use in Houdini to create, let's say this. This is a field where all the spheres here will help the script from Modelizer create a really clean field dimension. So this is all raycast to the terrain, and I get a lot of data here which I can export. And I've made a system which automates the export for all files to a unique FBX file, and I can bring that into Blender. So let's actually bring one field in here as an example and show you why this is such a bad idea to do manually when you have a good number of fields to go through. So here's all the spheres from Houdini. They are one mesh item currently, and the origin is at the world center. So the script from Modelizer will not work. So I need to separate these first. And now they are unique items, as you can see in the list here as well. But the origin is still at the world center. So I need to set the origin, let's see, origin to geometry. So now when I select an item here, the origin is at the geometry. So I made a little script to do that for me, actually. It works this way. You select the item, you run the script, boom, you get the same thing I did manually, but still not fast enough because I now need to set the origin to the center of the, to the center of the selection here, and then set what should be the transform group in GE to the center of the origin, and then turn all of these spheres under that shape or this transform group. So now this is ready for GE. Takes a few steps. It's not bad, but you know, you got 100 plus fields. You want to automate this. So let's create a new file actually. And back in Houdini, I've made a system which goes through all of these fields. Let's start at the beginning here. One by one, it will pick a file or a field and export it as an FBX. And it will run through all of these fields on its own. And the system works like this. I set up a script or an expression on what to do. It's going to save a file called field and the number of the field. And if I go cook, it will start to work on this and it will populate this folder with FBX files. So I'm just going to let this run and we'll take it into Blender for the processing, which is now mostly a one-click wonder, thanks to the fantastic NMC T-Bone who helped me. And I'm in great depth to him now. You can see a few files are popping up here. You can see it's in the graphic here as well. It's completed the first 16 and now it's working on the next 16, and there's 114 fields left to process. So it'll take a couple of minutes. So it's chugging through here. It's saving and processing at the same time. So it's very soon completed. Just gonna check that everything here is in order. We have 10 left. We have, for some reason, it says 10 left, and there's not 146 fields. It should be 145. So the last one will probably just be deleted. And there we go. It's completed. I can see here 146 files. Delete the last one. And in Blender, I'll run this script that T-Bone created based on my well, order, if I'd like. I sent him this little snippet I made with ChatGPT, and he really did well and iterated from there. So what I do is I pick the folder where all the FX files are placed, and I click run, and it will do all of what I did manually in one go. It's wow, it's a magic trick, really. So click run, and off it goes, and we can check this log here that it's loading each FBX file and will process each and every one of them before it shows up in the viewport. So I'm gonna pause here again, and we'll see the end result. And there we go. Everything has been imported. You can see all the field transform groups over here. And if I zoom out, you can see it's all available to me to see. Looks kind of crazy, but it all checks out. So what I gotta do here is I select every single transform group or empty. I want to export. I go to export i3D, and I'll just save it back to this folder just for the sake of it and call it field shapes. So I didn't have to do anything really inside Blender. I just imported the files, and I'm gonna export. So see you in a minute. And as you can see, it doesn't really show in Blender what's going on, but looking at this sort of console log, it's evidently processing all what goes into this i3D. And finally it's done. Took a few minutes, and let's go back to GE. Fingers crossed it won't crash. So I'll import this i3D now. This is just a temporary file, so we won't keep it around. It's just gonna be here while I create the field dimensions. So importing this as well will take a few seconds. And lo and behold, all my spheres are here. They appeared correctly, and from here I can start creating fields. So the order here is not completely to spec, because it's reading all 001 first, and then 002, and so on. So it's not completely numerical. Anyway, it's just a way of sorting. So I'll first check my field, which is this, and then I check the fields transform group, which tells the game where are the field dimensions. And at last, I'll select the field template transform group, which is basically a setting where which ground texture is used, or which direction is it, and whether it's a grass mission or not upon start. Oh, look at that. I forgot to do one thing here before I generated the field dimension. I wanted to just enable showing the field dimension areas, so you can see it live when it updates. And let's see here. For some reason, it almost crashed. And let's pick field number 2 then. Here we go. Down here, I check the fields transform group, and then I check the field template again, and I run the script. And just in a few seconds, you'll see that this area will be populated with new field dimension. And the list goes on. I can do this. Oh, for some reason, sort of alt tabs to Blender. Yeah, and I can continue doing this, even though this takes a while, maybe more than using the bitmap to field dimension. At least it is relatively quick and flexible in both Houdini and Blender. The upside is that based on these fill dimensions here, I am able to do a lot of things within these borders. I can flatten or smooth the terrain and so on. I can paint textures and whatnot. So all in all, it's a less or I feel it's a more fun and intuitive way of working, and I really enjoy automation, and I think this hits the nail. Thanks for watching.